this is the exciting part to me. The exciting part is that these bacteria and these yeasts that have been making our breads for thousands of years are here. Like they're here in this room. And all we need to do is to capture them, which is kind of a wrangling term, you know, capturing yeast, I quite like it. And it's not too difficult to do, and I have looked at how people do this online, and seriously, I don't know why they go through all the hoops and things that they do, because this method, you will have those yeasts working in your house in 3 days. I can't promise, but I'm almost sure that you will, and this is how you do it. Now, I'm going to do 2 different sourdough starters tonight. One is gluten-free, and that is actually very hard to get sourdough to decide to do gluten-free. So I'm going to do a gluten-free, and I'm going to do a regular wheat flour. If you want to make rye flour, you should use rye flour right from the get-go, because there's possibly other yeasts that come in for certain flours. Now they're in the atmosphere, but I do believe that they're also actually on the grain. And the reason they're on the grain is because they're waiting. It's like, here's the grain, we need to be milled, we need the moisture, and then we're away. So most probably it's a combination of what is in the atmosphere and what is actually on the grain. So this is what you do. It's very simple. I'll start with the gluten-free because we should not cross-contaminate when we're doing gluten-free or wheat, because celiacs are very, very sensitive, and even a grain of flour can actually upset their system, so let's keep it separate. So this is what you do. Day 1, take your container, take your rice flour. Now I name my jars because seriously, what is that? And after a week or two you think, what is that? Is it rice or is it something else? So I label the bottom of them. A couple of tablespoons, not crucial. You know, you can do heaped or not, it doesn't really matter. This is day 1. And then the trick to this is pineapple juice. You see, if I just add water to this, what's going to happen is these bacteria and these yeasts that make this wonderful marriage made in heaven called sourdough are going to sneer at my dough. They will just pass it by. They'll say, no thanks. And the reason is the pH is wrong. They will wait until this dough starts to go off and sour a bit, sort of bit, not sour in the nice kind of way, you understand, but go bad sort of, and then they'll move in. So in order to get them to move in day 1, you have to trick them. And so this is how you do it. Pineapple juice. 2, about the same, you know, 50-50. A bit of a stir, like this, until you've got a hydration that makes the dough look like that. In other words, you've got to wet it. Don't have any dry bits in there. And then you do what I've done here with this. This is day 2. You put a cover on it. A cover that will breathe so they can come and go as they please. And actually, you go, pineapple juice, and they'll be there. Seriously, they're waiting. They're in there already. And this is day 2. Day 2, you put another 2 tablespoons of flour in here and another 2 pineapple juices. And give it a stir. And you can give it a stir maybe later in the day too, because they like the air, you know, to circulate around it. And you can see in here that they're here already. That's unusual that they're here already. But the reason is because my house has been very warm the last few days, and because I have had sourdough sitting around and they've moved in really quickly. It is very unusual, usually day 3. So day 2, I can see them in there. This one here is day 3, and the reason I know is because this is rice flour here, is because when I lift it, the whole thing is light and fluffy. And it's not, there's no gluten in rice flour, so you don't have the similar kind of rising that you do with wheat. But I know that the smell has started to change. There's a pineapple-y smell there, but there's also this kind of yeasty smell developing. So here we go, we have almost got it. That's day 3. This is day 4. You can see on the outside of the glass that, you know, it's ready to go. And again, I did the same thing, 2 tablespoons more of water, 2 tablespoons of pineapple juice. You stop that after day 3. You have the right pH, and then you can just move on to just, using ordinary water. That is well and truly inhabited. So we'll leave that. That's the rice, the one over there. We'll put that out of the way. Now, this is the wheat one. Again, take your wheat flour. And you get 2 tablespoons in there. And this is probably what most of you will be doing, using wheat. The pineapple juice, just until you've got the right amount. Use spoon. Give it a stir. That might need a little bit more. A good mix. Cover it and leave it. Day 1. Day 2, you go and do the same thing. And you can see here that on day 2 of the wheat one, there's absolutely nothing happening. Just absolutely. Which is actually strange that the gluten-free has gone ahead and done it quicker, because you wouldn't have thought that would be the case, but that's nothing. Absolutely nothing on day 2. Day 3, we've got them here. It just about always turns up on day 3 when you use the pineapple juice method. I've tried the other methods, and seriously, by day 7 and 8 still hadn't happened. Thing was starting to go a bit manky, hooch on the top, you know, this kind of alcoholic-y smelling who knows what floating on the top. But this way we can be sure that we have sourdough. Now what we've got in here is the most amazing thing. We have 2 groups of individuals who love each other, and they find each other, and one of them is a yeast, and it's a special kind of yeast. You cannot make this sourdough out of regular yeast. Like you could put a pinch of regular yeast in here, you know, the regular baker's yeast, and all you'll have is the same trouble that we've all got at the moment. You'd have lots of baker's yeast and a sour, because the bacteria would also come in, you'd have sour baker's yeast. And you don't want that. You want this genuine, good thing that comes out of the air and does this job for you, the proper job of breaking down the flour. So they've turned up. So one lot of the lactobacillus. Lactobacillus are your basic fermenting bacteria, and they need the yeast to start working on the sugars in the flour in order for them to do their thing. And they're the ones who do the major deal. They're the ones that start breaking down the protein, start breaking down the sugars, start working on the phytase, so that in fact all of the phytates are taken out of sourdough bread. So that means that the bread is completely, all the minerals and everything, that's the manganese, the magnesium, the calcium, the iron, the zinc, are now available to you. And I really want you to understand that, because this is the major reason why this bread is so good. They're not available. Look, if you're going to buy a regular whole grain loaf, and it sounds really bad to say this, but because the phytates haven't been dealt with, it's worse for you than this. Because in some respects it's not. But in some respects it really is, because the phytates are so alive and kicking in here, and they're grabbing at all these minerals. Whereas in this, they're not there to be a problem, but there's nothing else there either. So, I mean, you know, you're not winning either way. The only way you win is to make a sourdough loaf. And that's why it's so important. Okay, has anybody got any questions regarding that little piece about capturing your yeast? Anybody?
Do you use fresh pineapple juice or just...
No, you don't have to use fresh pineapple juice, but please don't use pineapple juice that's got preservative in it, for obvious reasons. Not good for you, not good for the buglets. Okay, so don't do that. And if you can even drain it out of a can of pineapple, as long as it says a natural juice, which is what I did. Yeah, so no, just that's fine. Anybody else?
Where do you source your rice flour and your wheat flour?
That's an interesting question actually, because gluten-free flours, the best place I have found to get any gluten-free flours is to get them from an Asian food store, in particular Indians, because they have a lot of vegetarians over in India. They use a lot of different flours. So I find that they're the best place to source that kind of thing, and we're going to move on to what to do about wheat flour shortly.